The views and opinions expressed by guests on this podcast are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of the host or the management. This podcast should not be considered professional advice, and listeners should consult appropriate professionals for advice tailored to their specific needs.
Okay, welcome to yet another episode of our famous UTI podcast. Thanks to everyone that subscribed, and if you haven't subscribed yet, there is a button that says subscribe. Please press it, and after that you go and press the like button. We like that too.
Yeah.
I'm Renee, and
I'm Lisa Marie. Hello.
And with us today we have...
My name is Paul Johnson.
Nice to
and
have
would you like to hear something about me? And
yes.
So professionally, I'm a trial attorney in Detroit, Michigan. But when I'm not doing that kind of work, I'm doing fun things like running trails and doing endurance type of events. I've run several 200-plus mile races. That seems to be my race of choice now. If I'm not running, you might find me on the pickleball court. I've got a middle son who has enticed me into the world of pickleball. So it's a nice cross-training kind of event where you actually use your brain while you're out there. Sometimes when I'm running, I turn my brain off. But on the pickleball court, I think I've got the pickleballers would know what a duper rating is, but I've got a duper rating that makes me good enough where I keep coming back, but bad enough where I constantly get humbled by other players. What else? So I also actually host a podcast called Get Some Podcast, where I get the chance to tell stories, which is a lot of fun and one of the things I really enjoy doing. And last but not least, probably what grounds me most is I've got 3 teenage grandchildren who are also very strong into running and very accomplished in that sport. So they inspire me every day.
Cool. Okay. So I'm going to do all the boring numbers, and she will take over and talk about the fun stuff.
Fun.
Okay.
So
sounds good.
This race that we don't know what is, what was your running time or your finishing time?
Running time would be 157 hours, 22 minutes, and 17 seconds.
All right. So that's 157.35. And what was your travel time for this race?
Travel time would be 4 hours.
Wow.
And that's actually a round trip.
Round trip. Wow. You spent 97% of this race running. That's wow, that's good.
I think it was 6 days and some change when it was all said and done.
Wow. Okay. That's amazing. What was the race fee?
Race fee was, they priced it just right at $1,995. They wanted to hang a 1 on the front, not a 2, so they wouldn't discourage us.
Yeah.
So it was $1,995.
Did you get a big light around go flashing?
Someone was an expert in marketing for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would entice me as well. 1995.
So what about travel cost, gas station food, coffee, snacks on the way there and back? It can't be much if you're only driving 4 hours.
Right. I estimated to be about $100.
Okay. Sounds about right. Did you get any nutrition for the race, or were you just relying on the 8 stations for everything?
I definitely got nutrition. And I ballparked that cost at around $200. But yes, I certainly had nutrition. I had aid bags stashed with nutrition.
Okay.
So yes, for sure.
What kind of nutrition?
So my nutrition, I really tried to be broad and creative because I knew I'd be out there a long time. I had the Mountain House ready meals where you could pour hot water in them, or you can actually add cold water if you don't have the hot water. Just let them sit there for longer. That was actually really a great high calorie kind of food. But things like Cheetos. I had snack puddings. I
Oh, wow.
had candy bars. I had, you name it. Anything I could find on the grocery store shelf that looked like it might be good. That's what I
Yeah.
grabbed.
Right.
Pretzels, peanut butter filled pretzels, you name it.
I
Okay.
haven't tried Cheetos yet. I'll have to try that sometime. That could
Yeah,
be
I
good.
learned from a very experienced runner on the way. Whenever you have chips or Cheetos or anything like that, when you're on the trail, simply scrunch it up in the bag and then just fill your mouth with
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
It's great.
So I got to forget to be a lady for a moment and just.
Exactly. That's right.
Don't you always on the trails?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so 157 hours. So you must have had more than one pair of shoes for this.
I did. I had probably maybe every 50 to 60 miles I would change out shoes. So I think I had ended up with 5 or 6 different pairs of
Wow.
shoes when I was out there. Yes.
Okay.
Did you spend money on, were they new shoes or?
Most of them were shoes that I had in my rotation, but I did purchase a new pair of Norda 001 Nordas, the Canadian
Okay.
shoe, and they're a little higher on the price, but boy, were they nice. Loved them. They
How
were
much
great.
did they cost?
They were, I think, around $250.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's reasonable. Yeah, I've done that. It's
Let's be
called
honest.
self-sponsorship.
Yeah, let's be honest.
Right.
In this sport, the price tag usually goes with the quality of the shoe.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
And when you're out there for that long and for that many miles, your feet are so important. You want to take care of them.
yeah,
A good pair of shoes
exactly.
goes a long way.
Yeah,
Amen to that.
yeah. So what about essentials like anti-chafing, extra pair of shorts,
A watch, poles.
watch, travel
Right.
trailer?
So for sure, I spent some money on essentials. I mean, some of the essentials like lube and things like that I had from prior races, but for example, caffeine gum. I think I purchased some caffeine gum for this race and some other things. I would guess probably around $50 for the essentials.
Oh, wow.
Okay, not bad.
Wow.
Wow. So this is not bad at all. 75% of your cost was actually the race fee.
Yes.
It's usually opposite for us.
Yeah.
25%
Okay.
is the race fee.
Okay.
Okay, so is this a timed race or is it a fixed distance race?
Fixed distance.
Okay, and we know the finishing time was 157.35. What was your goal time?
My goal time was 130 hours.
Okay. And what was the cutoff time?
Cutoff time was 170 hours.
Oh, wow.
Okay, wow.
A big spread.
Yeah, big spread, yeah.
Yeah, if you can tell, I missed my goal by over a day.
So because you went so far over your goal time, your performance was 0. But on the good side, your ambition was almost a 1. It's 0.999.
That's good.
So it's a number between 0 and 9. And aggressive, because you did it faster than the time limit, and you didn't just go to the last minute. So you actually got a 0.85 on the aggressiveness. So that's good.
Okay,
So
I like that 0.85.
Yeah.
So your return on investment was actually 0.787, which is in the high end.
Yeah.
So
Excellent.
that was the first part of our score.
Renee, you
So now
remind
I'm
me of
gonna
the mad scientist. You remind me of the mad scientist. You've got all these numbers. You're crunching them like crazy.
Yeah.
Yes, I love this kind of stuff.
He does.
This is
He
good.
really does.
This is good.
I want to put a number on everything.
I can see you preparing for these long races. You've got everything dialed in.
Yes,
He does.
and usually after the first day, everything goes out the window.
Yeah.
Right.
And then he's
I've
asking
been
me
there.
to do the trail math.
Right.
But she doesn't like it when I put numbers on our dinner. So
No.
Mm.
Our household
Yes.
is very bizarre, but it's all right.
okay, I'm going to hand over to you now.
Okay, so
You
let's
get to
talk about
about
some fun things or not so fun things. It's all in perception. So, aid
Right.
stations. What would you give it and why?
I would give the aid stations 9 out of 10.
All right.
I think as I understand the rating, 10 is the best,
Yes.
Yes.
1 is the worst, and so I
Mhm.
gave the aid stations number 9. And there were a couple examples that I thought about. One of the first aid stations I came into, I think it was a nighttime visit in that aid station. There was a couple that was manning the aid station. They're basically running it by themselves. The wife was checking runners in, and as I came in, I don't know why I said "Buenos noches," which is good evening, and she responded in Spanish. So she was like, "This person actually speaks Spanish. She can challenge me with my own Spanish language skills." But then I went to to where the food was at, and her husband was actually preparing the food, and he made me an amazing dish of pasta and meatballs. It was hot. It was so good. The sauce was fantastic. So that was a really good start for aid stations. And then later on in the race, ran into an aid station. This was also at nighttime. We had a long stretch through the desert, and come into this aid station, and lo and behold, Brian Pacenti, this great coach from Colorado, is running the aid station, and he has that aid station just, I mean, it was really well done. The food was great. They actually asked this, even though it was night, I asked for a large plate of scrambled eggs and I think avocado, and they made that for me. It was perfect. And it was a sleep station on top of that. And my pacer at the time and we had just had that long stretch. We were hot, sweaty. We were looking to try to somehow cool down before we continued on. And so my pacer, Jillian Pizzamenti, she had a chance to be able to get some of her clothes dry. I actually laid down to sleep for about an hour and a half. So it was a perfect aid station. So kudos to Brian Percenti for managing that aid station. So yeah, we had some really good experiences at the aid stations.
So just one question on that aid station. Did he
Yeah.
have a Starlink available for you guys to use?
I he may have, but I didn't ask that question. Knowing Brian, I wouldn't be surprised if he did have a Starlink at that aid station. But it was probably one of those things where it was on a need-to-know basis only, and you didn't even know what.
I was trying to give him tips on how he could cash in on having a Starlink available for the
He's
runners.
our coach.
Got it. No, Brian is fantastic. I love that guy. There was one other aid station later on that I thought was pretty spectacular too. I almost could sense that the volunteer at this one aid station was somewhat new, but she was really trying to be helpful. And as my pacer and I were leaving, it was at the crack of dawn, and we knew that we had a long, hot stretch. And she was telling us, make sure you load up with a lot of water. She says it's going to be long and hot. And oh, by the way, she said, 10 miles out, there will be a water drop. So you will have water out there, which was so key on that day. In fact, we actually ran into that water. So there were 2 guys that actually had driven into a really remote location, had brought the water there. And man, that was so good to get that cold water up there in the mountains for sure. But again, the volunteer was providing us with really good key information to help us out for sure.
Oh, that is wonderful. It's always good when you have a great volunteer who just, whether they're new or very experienced, they
but that information is good to have,
especially when it comes to water.
Yeah.
And that information had not been, they didn't plan on having that water drop. There was nowhere in the runner manual, but it was a game time decision made by the race director that given the heat, given the long stretches, that it was important to have that. So that was really, really well done.
Yeah, because you can empty your bottles and your bladder and then refill everything after 10 miles.
Exactly.
And be well hydrated,
Yeah.
So, was there a fun factor to this race?
Fun factor would be definitely a 10 out of 10 for
Wow.
sure. Oh yeah, you got to give this one a 10. This was a memorable race in the sense that at about mile 100, I had developed a serious runner's lean. I'm sure you guys
Mm-hmm.
know about the runner's lean, where a runner is actually tilted over to the left or to the right. And I had heard from a runner who is well known in the destination trail races. His name is Wes Rittner. You may have come across Wes. Super experienced, very, very competitive runner. But about 3 or 4 years ago, he ran I think it was the Moab 240, and he ended up many miles from the finish having a very serious problem with runner's lean. He finished that race, did a lot of research, and came across a doctor who had done some research on it, on how to correct the lean. And there's a lot of theories out there, believe me, on how to correct the runner's lean. But Wes, at the next Moab 240, which was, I think, in 2024, so last year, he hit somewhere around mile 120 or so, 110, 120, and he felt his body tilting. And he knew that the onset of the runner's lean was coming. He remembered what he had read in this research from this doctor, which was that the gluteus minimus, which is that muscle on the side of your
Mm-hmm.
hip, that's what's failing. And it usually fails because of the lack of potassium and some other things, but primarily potassium. But at that stage, once it begins to fail, adding potassium is not going to solve the problem. It's too late at that point. And so on this research from this doctor, Wes realized that what the doctor was recommending was you need to somehow get a massage of that glute on that side, work out that knot or whatever it's developing there, because that muscle is no longer firing. The muscle on that side is always a side that you lean toward. So if it's on the left side, you're going to be leaning to the left. So he literally sat on a rock at the Moab 240 by himself and did a massage on this rock that was protruding from the ground, worked it out for about 15 minutes, and then he got back up, straight as an arrow, finished the race strong.
All right.
Wow.
So I remembered that. In fact, I'd reached out to Wes Rittner a few months ago saying, hey, what did you do there? And he actually shared the research with me. So at this particular race, when I came in at about mile 100 aid station, I told my crew, I said, we got a problem. I'm leaning, as you guys can tell. They could all see me leaning.
Yeah.
In fact, everybody around me was saying, hey, you've got this lean going on. I said, I know I've got the lean. And so my crew laid me down in our crew vehicle, took a lacrosse ball as well as a Theragun percussion handgun, and they worked that glute until I was actually in tears. It was so painful, but I came out of there straight. Now, that didn't entirely correct it. It took about 100 miles from that point of constant therapy throughout the race, working that glute until finally, somewhere around, I'm going to guess around a little over mile 200 or so, it was gone. So
wow.
thank you, Wes Rittner. Thank you. This doctor's name is Dr. Andrew Lovey. He's run about 200 some ultra marathons himself. He's like 90 years old, but phenomenal. It worked. At least it worked for me.
Yeah.
So that was a fun factor because I had my crew constantly working on my butt the whole time of the race for most of the race. But there were also a lot of other fun instances. Like one of my pacers, we call him the singing pacer. He's very musical. On the last segment at nighttime, he had brought his harmonica with him and literally was playing the harmonica for me as we're going through the trails and the mountains. It was spectacular.
Wow.
Oh my
And the
God.
same pacer, as we were 2 or 3 miles away from the race finish, a police officer from the local city there came by us and stopped and said, how you guys doing? I mean, I looked like I was drunk because I was so out of it and out of my mind. My pacer was actually helping me to stay up, to actually stay awake and try to get down the road. And the police officer knew that the race was going on, and he asked my pacer, Jonathan Pantelli. He says, Jonathan, he says, anything I can do for you? And Jonathan said, yeah. Would you mind getting out your handcuffs? I think it'd be a great effect to have him in the handcuffs, Paul in the handcuffs when we cross the finish line. Now, the police officer did not do that, but just the fact that my pacer thought about that was crazy.
Yeah. Wow. Where was I?
Cool. Well, obviously not at this race.
Not this race. Wow. That does sound fun, especially the harmonica playing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how about trail markings? I threw this question in there because I found out early on that people like trail markings, some high, some low, trails, this and that, are more confidence markers. So I kind of like to talk to you about that and your feelings a little bit.
Yeah, I don't really have a particular preference whether they're high or low. The deeper I get into the race, the more likely I am to make a mistake. And that's where my pacer comes in to keep me on track. I have definitely gone off course multiple times, even though the course markings have been good. I thought this race's course markings were excellent. I mean, they kept us on course. I also know the importance of having that course on my smartphone or on my watch, and my pacers are really good about having the course on typically on their watch, where it beeps if we go off course.
Right.
One of my pacers, Jillian, she is absolutely phenomenal by keeping me on course when it comes to that. But strangely, at this particular race, one of the nights is probably the second or third night, we had a group of runners running through the desert, and we had a great conversation going. And what happens when you have a great conversation? You lose track of what you're supposed to be doing.
Yep.
That is staying on course. And all of a sudden, everybody's watches were going off beeping. And then you may know Helgi Olafsson. He was behind us some distance, and he yelled at us and said, "Hey, you guys are going the wrong way." And it wasn't because of the course markings, because there was a course marker there saying, turn right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so, yeah, I would give the trail markings a 9 out of 10. I mean, I wouldn't say they were absolutely perfect, but I thought they were well done.
Okay.
Right.
So, the first 60 miles of a race, if you're looking at the course markings, where do you prefer to see it on a trail run? Are you wanting to see them like hip or more to the ground, or would you prefer to look up?
The higher they are, the better it is, especially when they're at nighttime, if they have a reflector on them. And I think most races also keep them on the right, unless there is a left-hand turn. So I want to see them on the right-hand side, and the higher the better, because that way I can see them with my headlamp or my waist lamp. So the higher the better. Sometimes there's no place to put them high, and they don't have a choice, especially in some of those mountains in Colorado where there are no trees and they're just rocks. But if there are options, I'd prefer them higher for sure.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just, talking to the people who've been doing this a long time, they have so many interesting ways they like to see these markings. And I'm like, personally, for me, because I look down when I trail run, I like to see them hip length, unless we're in the mountains, and there is a place higher at night to see that, just that little confidence.
But,
Yeah. And I one of the things that I tend to do is when I see, even when I'm with my pacer, when I see a marker, I audibly say, got a marker, we're on track. Okay. Just so it reinforces in my mind, we're on course.
That lets your pacer know, hey.
Right.
Yeah. And especially if you're sharing trails with a mountain bike trail.
Yes.
Some people have a tendency to sometimes rip the markings off the trees, which is a little more difficult if they're close to the ground.
Yeah.
That's true. Yep. Vandalism has been a problem, and that's why we have our GPX file on our smartphone. So yes.
Yeah.
That's right. So how about the weather at this race? Was it hot? Was it cold? Was it to your liking?
Yeah, I would give it a 9 out of 10. It was, during the day, hot and dry. That's just the way it was. No surprise because of where it was at. it was going to be hot and dry during the day, and at nighttime it would be cold and dry. Okay. There was one segment, I think we were coming into probably around mile maybe 70 or so, where it was late in the afternoon. The sun was barely still up, and we were approaching an aid station. I think I was with a couple other runners, Anna Robbins and Rebecca Walker at the time, maybe even Andrew Marvin at the time. And we could see these angry dark clouds coming in, and we knew rain was coming. But it was perfect because we got into the aid station, got some food, ate the food, changed our clothes. Anna Robbins invited me to sleep in the back of her crew vehicle, which I gladly accepted. We took, I think, about a 30 to 45-minute break to sleep and rest. The storm blew through, so the timing was perfect. The weather worked out great for us. But there were long sections that were just simply hot and dry, but that was to be expected.
So that wasn't an issue for you then?
I don't think so. I think it was one of those things where we had to deal with what we knew was coming. For sure, during some of those hot sections, I refer to one of my pacers, Jillian, as being a real expert in some of those areas. And she had come up with a nice little system of keeping our buff wet. To keep our neck cool, to keep our veins cool. And she had a little Ziploc system, a double Ziploc system, where she had water in one Ziploc bag covered by another Ziploc bag. And probably every 15 or 20 minutes, we'd re-dip our buffs into that water. Even though the water was warm, once it came out and came up our neck with that breeze, it made it nice and cool. It was almost like an air conditioning effect. So we did those little tricks and those little devices to make it work for that hot and dry condition.
Okay. I'm going to remember that.
So I can tell that you're going to rate your pacers as a 10.
You know where you're going on that one.
Yeah.
I bet.
So is there anything in particular besides the air conditioning system that made them that golden 10?
My pacers and my crew, they're really the dream team. I've got my crew chief is actually my middle son, and he has actually been my crew chief for multiple 200 plus races. He knows me inside and out. He knows exactly what's going on. And then the pacers that I had at this race was Jillian, who I've referred to, my younger son, Jeffrey, and my brother-in-law, Jonathan. The three of them basically did a rotation of pacing, and each one of them has their own strengths and brought their strengths to it. Like, for example, Jillian on I think it was when I came into the 100-mile aid station, she presents me with these little pendants of St. Christopher and St. Sebastian and a cross. Basically, these are Catholic saints that are known to be patron saints for endurance and safe travel and things like that. And she said, "This is a gift from my mother, Charlene, who wanted you to have this during the race." So I pinned that on my running vest as these pendants. So that was a like who does that kind of thing, right? Who thinks about their runner that way? Or another example, we're coming through, I think, maybe two or three segments from the end, and out pops a recording of Rocky, the music Rocky from the movie Rocky. Rocky is one of my favorite movies from way back. Okay, I love that movie.
Yes,
love that song, and how she knew that Rocky was my favorite, I have no idea, but I'm sure she got the inside track from my sons. And then later, she's playing this inspirational speech from David Goggins. And David Goggins talking about, hey, I didn't come this far just to come this far. I came this far so I'm strong enough to go farther. I mean, I was pumped up by that mantra. So, yeah. And then my son, Jeff, when he was pacing me up this very mountainous, very steep section, we actually determined that we are just not going to stop. We are going to push this thing, even if we're going slow, we're going to push the thing all the way until we get to the very top. And as we passed a couple of the other runners on the way up, they asked, so how you guys doing? And Jeff responded, he says, you know what? This is the best day of my life. And I looked at him because we're in a lot of pain right now. Okay. We're in a lot of suffering. And I go, Jeff, that was the best. That was absolutely the best. I'm gonna adopt that quote. This is the best day of my life. I'm going to use that over and over and over because you know what? Yesterday is gone. We don't have tomorrow. So today is the best day of our life, right? Yeah. He would also play these little mental games where, we'd hit this really steep section and I would tell Jeff, we're almost toward the end. He says, stop saying that. He says, we've got 20 more miles of this to go, even though we didn't have 20 more miles. But he's thinking, if I just expand it, I don't expect anything. I'm managing my expectations. If I think it's right around the corner, then I'm going to be disappointed. And I don't want to be disappointed.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I understand completely what you're saying.
Mental games.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
So how would you rate your crew? And I know that's a 10 because that was I met your son, I believe, right?
You did.
Just a few weeks ago. Yes.
Yes.
Incredible human being.
10 out of 10 for the crew. The one you met, my crew chief, he is, one of the things that's great is we never know when we're out there, when we're coming in an aid station, what we might be hungry for. There are certain things that once you put that in front of a runner who's just gone through some miserable experience over the last 20 miles, they have no appetite for that at all. So when I come to the aid station, one thing that my son Christopher is really good at is options. He gives me multiple options. You don't want this? I've got this. How about that? How about the sushi over there? How about a large milkshake? Strawberry, raspberry? What would you like? He has all these options waiting for me. So he's really good about that, and he's sort of figured out what works for me and what doesn't work for me, depending upon what the circumstances are. So yeah, the crew is great. In fact, even with this lean that was going on, the crew and pacers would actually drop me down on the trail or right off the trail, and they had the Theragun with them, this percussion gun with them. It was a small little gun that they kept with them. And if my lean was too far to the side, they'd go, drop down. It's time for some more work on your butt. And they'd drop me down, work it into that glute really, really hard, really painful. We even had some runners come by saying, wait, what? How do we get that as part of our crew, part of our pacers? It was pretty funny.
Yeah, I was on your son also had a lot of Band-Aids when I ran into him a few weeks ago, and he gave me options. My knee was half torn off, and he loves here.
Options. Yeah. He's very good at that. Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to say you did a great job with your son. He was very polite and nice, and made sure that I ran out of there laughing, even though I was suffering was like there.
For sure. Yeah.
So now we're going to talk about the new question.
No, blisters and
chafing. Oh, blister. Oh, I was skipping.
Yeah.
Blisters and chafing and things we don't talk about, or maybe we should talk about.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of feet that are pretty beat up. I have been very, very blessed and fortunate that I really haven't had much of those problems. I follow a pretty disciplined routine of changing out my shoes at least every 50 or 60 miles, as well as a fresh pair of socks, as well as a complete cleaning of my feet, lubrication of all the toes and the feet. Yeah. I mean, my feet are so happy when I come in for those changes. And for this race, I had a small little blister on my right little toe. My right little toe has always been a problem child in these races. And I know it's going to be a problem child, but it never stops me. But it always has a little blister, and it came back again, just telling me that it's not really happy with the ultramarathon world. And I also had a little blister on the outside of my the side of my foot, but it was very small. So all things being equal, blisters and chafing, probably a 9 out of 10 for sure. Wasn't perfect, but it was close to it.
So besides the lean, did you have any stomach issues or?
Not at this race. No, I've had issues at other races where I've done my share of vomiting, where my stomach has not agreed with various things. But at this one, pretty much, I tried to stay away. The deeper into the race, and the hot, especially in the hot days, I try to stay away from like the Cheetos because they wouldn't go down very well because they're so dry. So I was trying to find more things, nutrition that had more liquid in it, because other things just wouldn't go down very well.
Okay. So
now comes a new question.
Now comes a new question. So I want to know about the facilities the laboratory facilities.
So yeah, I would say the laboratory facilities 9 out of 10. Okay. So, I'm not for example, my wife would not want to go into one of these porta potties. She just would not be interested in that at all. Certain people have higher standards than I have. Okay. But these are standard porta potties. When I needed one, they were there. There's nothing fancy about a porta potty. And this particular race had a long, probably a 40 to 50 mile section through an urban area. And it was on a recreational path. And there were multiple opportunities along that recreational path for bathroom facilities, not just your typical porta potty, but actually pretty nice bathroom facilities. Yeah. So all things being said, I would rate it 9 out of 10.
Okay. How about trail naps? And of course, the trail naps, are just dirt naps, or you can be talking about your falls, whichever.
Okay. I was actually really lucky at this race. I had no falls, and that's actually good. That could be a record, because I typically fall anywhere from 1 to 5 times at every race, a rock or whatever it is, and my elbows are bloody and that type of thing. But at this one, no falls, but trail naps. I am a huge believer in trail naps. I can drop down and take a 10-minute trail nap, set my alarm for 10 minutes, pop back up, and be ready to go. I do that all the time. Now, there are times where I get deep into the race and I'm not very choosy about where I lay down. I can pretty well sleep anywhere. And there was one section where it was late in the morning. You could tell it was going to be a hot, nasty, brutal day. And I told my pacer, Jeff, I said, I need 10 or maybe 5 minutes. And there was a tree that had some shade just off to the left. So we piled underneath that tree. So I set my alarm, I think, for like 5 minutes. And as I'm laying there, and I can usually fall asleep within 30 to 60 seconds, I'll literally count, and then I'll lose track of what I'm counting to, right? And as I'm counting, I hear this vehicle pull up. I don't open my eyes, but I know that Jeff is watching. This vehicle pulls up, and I hear a female voice, and she says, "Are you guys okay?" And Jeff says, "Yeah, we're doing fine." And she says, there are a lot of rattlesnakes around here, and you see those holes around you. That's where the rattlesnakes live, and they're going to come out and they're going to bite you. And Jeff said, "Thank you so much. We'll be very careful." And then she drove away, and we continued to sleep there, got up and left. So we slept with the rattlesnakes.
Oh my goodness. So you got lucky.
We got lucky. And then there was another instance where I was with Jonathan, and I think it was actually the last night before we finished. And again, I needed to drop down for 10 minutes just to reset. And I told Jonathan, I said, in the next 5 or 10 minutes, if I see a place that looks like it's an opportune place, I'm dropping down. Saw a flat area, bam, I was down. And as I was laying down, I realized I was laying down in a huge colony of ants.
Oh my God.
No.
And I said, hold on. We need to find something a little bit farther away from this ant colony. And it's funny because Jonathan, as my pacer, remembers that at a prior race, a Cocodona 250 race 2 or 3 years ago, he and I had done the exact same thing. Only that time we didn't realize we were laying in an ant colony. And when I woke up 10 minutes later, I had all these black ants just crawling all over my body. But I was too tired.
Oh,
I didn't even
Yeah.
realize it until I woke up.
Oh
So
my God.
did you get bit?
no bites. The ants
Oh.
just were, they were very curious as to what this big oaf was laying down in their colony, in their home.
Yeah. Yeah, I always, when you say that, I think of fire ants because, I've sat in a pile of them many, many times, and it doesn't matter how many times you wipe it off, they're there. They're hanging out, biting
Yep,
you. Yep.
exactly.
So how would you rate these trail naps that you took? For
Oh,
comfort
fantastic.
or for fantastic?
Like when I, here's my dirty little secret on how I do trail naps. Okay. Everybody does it their own way. This is my way. I literally take off my runner's vest, use it as my head pillow, and then I take out my iPhone, set the alarm for whether it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes, usually 10 minutes at the most. And then I lay flat on my back, and then I try to put my head to the right or to the left. Because if I keep my head straight, I'll begin to snore and I'll wake myself up. Okay.
Okay.
So I always try to move my head to the right or to the left. And then I start counting 1,000, 1,000. And usually I'll never get to 30 and I'll be asleep.
Ah.
Are you counting sheep, rattlesnakes, ants, stars?
I should. No, I just count one to whenever, but I should start counting rattlesnakes.
Yeah.
Okay, so what was your mental state? What would you give it and why?
I'm going to give the mental state a 10 out of 10.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
I
You're
never
made of something
really,
special.
yeah, I never really had a, one of those really low points where
Yeah.
you're I'm thinking back to the Summit 200 in 2024 when I hit this one section, and it was really a low section, and I knew the reason it was low is because we had done some really high altitude climbing, and I didn't have the ability to take anything in, or just had no desire for any nutrition. And so I knew that my nutrition was really depleted, and that was the cause of why I was so mentally drained. At this particular race, because of all the different creative food types that I brought with me in my drop bags and so on, there was always something there that I could eat. And so I never had that drop in nutrition. In fact, one of my pacers said, we've noticed in this race that you've really never had those nutrition lows like we've seen you at other races. And so I think maybe that was part of the reason for that. But, for sure, the other reason is that, when your pacer's playing Rocky or playing these great speeches from David Goggins or telling you that this is the best day of his life and so on and so forth, those can really help you get through some of those sections for sure.
Absolutely.
Lift you up a little bit, lift the mood.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We weren't moving very fast, but we were moving.
It doesn't matter. You were moving forward. So, did you have any hallucinations? Please say you did. Please.
Yeah,
Okay, here we go.
Trees became people, tree stumps became people sitting along the side of the trail, rocks became cars. There was one time where I actually looked like it almost was like a picnic table with people at the picnic table. And I was trying to understand, why are they having a picnic out here? And there was like a lean-to next to them, as if that was where they were going to sleep that night. It was the weirdest thing in the world. And at nighttime along the trails, I noticed this artwork along the trail that seemed to have sort of a repetitive kind of fashion, where I would see it. It's almost like a Picasso type of artwork. In fact, I asked my son Jeffrey, who was pacing me at the time, I said, "Are you seeing what I'm seeing on this trail? This is amazing what they've done out here." And he said, "No," he says, "you're out of your mind." In fact, there was one, those were the hallucinations. I thought I was hallucinating at another point, when off in the distance, Jillian and I saw a shiny object which appeared to be on the trail. And it looked like a large shiny object, and we're trying to understand, what would a shiny object be out here in the middle of nowhere? This was like super remote. And as we're getting closer and closer and switchback after switchback, we came on this. It was actually not a hallucination. She was seeing what I was seeing. It was this large cylindrical kind of metal. I was told later maybe it was part of an airplane that had fallen off, like a fuselage or some kind of fuel canister.
Okay.
And it was huge. It was like maybe 3 feet in diameter, maybe, I don't know, 15 feet long, sitting right by the side of trail. We actually took the opportunity to sit there and take a 10-minute nap right next to it. It was perfect.
You sure it wasn't aliens?
You know what?
10-minute nap.
We wondered why they put it out there, and maybe it was because of the aliens.
Okay, so what would you give those hallucinations?
I think I would give those probably a 10 out of 10. The hallucinations were fantastic during this race. You know, that's the reason you pay all that money, that $1,995. It's for the hallucinations.
Yes,
it is. Yeah.
I agree. Absolutely.
Saving the money for on drugs.
For that and delusions.
Exactly.
Okay, so how about the race versus the description? Because sometimes, the RDs, they kind of,
leave things
out, or, leave just something there that's you wish had been added, or.
Yeah, the one we've heard the most is slightly rolling hills means something different for city people and country people.
Yes.
So I actually went back and read the description, knowing that you would ask me this question. And so I want to sort of read this to you without giving away the race. It is designed to test the absolute limits of human endurance, combining heat, rugged terrain, remoteness, and elevation gain into one of the most challenging foot races in North America. Yeah.
Okay.
It was all of that.
Okay, it was all of that. So that's a 10.
They didn't pull any punches on the description.
Okay, so finally we have the swag, the medal, and the buckle. So when you checked into your race, they gave you a bag. What was inside? And
did you like what was inside?
I'm not a big swag person. There were, I can't even remember the things that were in there, other than there was a T-shirt for sure, which I always like to get the T-shirt because it shows that you actually did that race. I've got a bedroom full of T-shirts that I wear on a regular basis. But they had they probably had a coffee mug in there. Who knows what else was in there. But so, yeah, I mean, pretty standard swag bag, I would say, but I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to it.
Okay.
Sometimes with whatever the swag bag is, whatever I get in the swag bag, if it has some value to it, I give it to my crew chief or to my pacers.
Yeah. Okay.
That's good of you. Yeah.
What about the buckle?
The buckle. So I know that you earned the buckle.
So we got to the finish line, got that buckle, and it's a beautiful buckle. The cool thing about this race is you actually get to select which buckle you want. They have a wide selection. So, I selected it. I thought it was beautiful. I think it's a great buckle for sure.
Did you cry when you finished?
I did not. I'm not really a crier when I finish. I'm more of a
unlike me.
relief. Although I can tell you this, there have been times where I have shed a few tears. not at this race, but at a couple of the Cocodona races, when you reach that roughly around 210, 220 mile point where you're pretty much you're there. You're gonna get to the finish line, and you have this sort of overwhelming emotional response to what
Yes.
you've just done for the last 4 or 5 days, and you realize you're going to get to that finish line. Yeah, that can bring some tears for sure.
Okay.
So, oh wow, I peaked.
Yeah, you peaked. So this is a race I can imagine you would probably do again.
Yes.
Because it looked like you had a lot of fun and you did not have any problem with the distance or the hot weather or the steep climbing, the challenges. You scored this race a 9.4 out of 10.
Wow.
It's, I can tell you're probably going back to this race.
Yeah.
I would
at some point.
absolutely, yes, I would absolutely do it again for sure.
And your overall UTI score is 0.86, which I believe is very much in the high end. So I'm just going to check here at this.
We're gonna look at the cheat sheet.
Nice.
Sheet. Oh.
Oh.
That's a new number one.
Yes, you are the new
Oh
number
no, that's crazy.
Oh, it's going to upset Simon.
So I was going to be like, "Oh, send me that link again."
Yeah,
That's funny.
Yeah, that's an impressive score.
Yes.
And I would say that's super impressive.
Makes me want to go do it.
157 hours. That's a long time. I mean,
that is a long time.
We spent 100 hours at the summit.
Yeah, I think the most I ran is 144 hours.
But
the 6 day.
I am also going to say, because I have a feeling I know what this race is.
Yes, me too.
I think that we only did 2/3 of the distance of this race.
I think yours is a little over a 300.
That is correct.
I think it took place in
Arizona.
Arizona. I was going to say in one of
We
the
drove over the
states.
highway where the runners were crossing over into the other side.
Yeah.
At night, we could see headlights.
Really?
It could be his headlight.
Could have been yours.
Yeah.
Could have been.
This is a destination trail race, if I'm correct.
So it was in
It is a destination trail race. That's correct. You guys are getting hot.
And
it was in April.
Probably the inaugural year, 2025.
It was the inaugural year. Yes. Yes.
So it has to be the Arizona Monster 300.
Yes.
That's correct. Yep.
It is on my list. However, it sold out, I think, before we even...
Yeah, it sold out quickly.
I think it sold out very quickly.
Yeah, it's a...
People like suffering.
It's a popular race for sure. And it was definitely well worth doing for sure.
Right.
I've done the destination trails, a couple of the other ones as well, but the one up in Washington, Bigfoot. And you probably know, have you guys done Bigfoot?
No, but we're pacing there next year. Looking forward to that.
So Bigfoot, they've got at the start line, they've got the person in the Bigfoot costume, who looks like Bigfoot.
Right.
And they may even have him at the end. I'm not sure. But I know when I ran it, my crew chief, Christopher, before I crossed the finish line, he convinced the race director, Candace Burt, to allow him, Christopher, to get in the Bigfoot costume and then run with me in the last lap around to the finish line, which was a lot of fun. But for the Arizona Monster, hopefully if Candace Burt is listening, you need to have somebody with a Gila Monster costume, and have that person at the start line and at the finish line. That would increase the fun factor.
I will volunteer. Yeah, I will volunteer to do this just because.
Of course you would.
So Candace, if you're listening, I think I would really, really rock that outfit.
Yes. I mean, the Tahoe doesn't really have that. Moab really doesn't have that.
So what's your next race?
The next race is in about 2 or 3 weeks. It's going to be the Divide, which is in the Canadian Rockies in southern Alberta. Heading up there. Actually, we're putting that team together right now, and then my last big one for this year will be in November. I think it's the second week of November, which will be the Across Florida 200 miler.
Oh, I didn't
So
even
I've
know that was an Across Florida.
got the Divide 200 miler and then the Across Florida 200 miler. That Across Florida 200 miler is interesting because you start just north of the Tampa Bay area and you finish near St. Augustine over on the Atlantic side. It is the first year where they actually have where it's age supported. In the past, they've had sort of like a virtual kind of thing where you could do it within a certain 6-month or 9-month time frame and then just submit your information. But now it's actually a formal race, and this is the first year that they've had it as a formal race. So pretty excited about that one there.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't gone on your ultra sign up yet, and so to save me the time, which 200 are you on? And have you completed 100 yet?
I think I'm on maybe like 8 or 9 200s.
Okay.
Maybe just shy of 10. I think I'll have to. I should count them. And I probably have less 100s than I have 200s.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
You just you look
so you just tried 200 and said, "That's it. I'm in love with 200s."
You look comfortable when you do them.
That's exactly where I'm at right now. I look, you might know Walt Handloser from Colorado.
Yes.
Walt is an amazing guy who actually keeps a spreadsheet of every 200 plus mile race in the world. I love the spreadsheet. I love looking at all the different races and trying to figure out which ones I'm going to do next, which ones I should put on my calendar next.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get him on soon. I know that he just completed some big things and his 100. So I know that he's visiting all the podcasts right now. I just got to wait my turn. He's coming on, whether he likes it or not.
Absolutely, yeah. He would be a great guest for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Out of all the people I talk to, they always talk about his spreadsheet. So I've been kind of curious, but I'm going to wait until I have him in front of me and he can explain why.
Fellow guy with a fellow spreadsheet.
Yeah. Renee, you would love this guy. He's all about stats and numbers and
my kind of guy.
Every time he throws on social media his updated spreadsheet, I download it and save it because to me, for a person that loves those types and the longer races, that is gold.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah, we know there are some long races especially in Asia that we wanted to do but never got to do.
Yeah, unfortunately, the pandemic hit, and we were signed up for several of these long involved races
in Asia.
Asia, yes, they have some crazy stuff over there.
Yeah, there's one I'm looking at for Thailand, a 300-mile race in Thailand.
Yeah,
maybe in January.
And if you want some extreme climbing, there is 100-mile in Indonesia that no one has completed yet.
Really?
Yeah, it's it's basically they're saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's your elevation, but not the way we count elevation.
It's in meters.
It's in meters.
So it's about 40,000 feet.
Of the active volcano.
But it's up the side of a volcano on, as they say, you take 2 steps up and you slide 1 step back.
Yeah.
So even though it's only 100 miles.
That sounds like an adventure. Let's do it.
It is. Let's do it. Absolutely.
There's a race. There's a race in Japan called the Trans-Japan, I don't know the entire, maybe ultra marathon, whatever. But basically you start on the Sea of Japan side and you finish on the Pacific side. And it's not quite as organized as a destination trails type of race, but you are tracked. And they have a lot of different expectations and rules for you to follow. One of them is that you must be fluent in Japanese to be able to race the race.
Oh. I kind of out of that.
I
Because
can
if
get one
you're
of those walkie-talkies.
right, if you're crossing the country of Japan, they expect you to be able to at least speak to the people that you're coming through, the towns you're coming through.
Okay. Well, I can
But
say,
you know what? I would like to learn the Japanese language just to run that race because
Yeah.
the fact I think there's been only one non-Japanese person that's actually finished it.
oh,
Wow.
wow.
Now I'm kind of intrigued.
I would
Yeah.
love
Are
it.
you going to be it across the years?
Last year I volunteered at
Yeah.
the main aid station there in the main center there for 2 or 3 different shifts. So I'll either be running it or I will be serving as a volunteer, one or the other.
Awesome.
And if you were going to run it, what would you be running?
Were
6
you
days?
there?
If I ran it, I'd probably run one of the longer distances for sure.
6 days. Yeah, you should do 6 days.
And are you doing 6 days?
Yes.
Good for you. Both
Going
of
for
you?
my 400.
Yeah, but
Both.
whenever we sign up for a race, we can't go for anything but the longest time or the
Right,
longest
right,
distance.
Yeah, you guys like me, you're sick.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
something wrong,
The-
Right. So
but it's okay.
Thank you so much for coming on. It has been
thank you for inviting me.
absolutely a pleasure.
Yeah, it's
This
been a
was
blast. You guys are a lot of fun, and I love the format that you do this little podcast on because it's almost like one of those old time game shows where it's
Yeah.
like a guessing game. Like you're throwing clues out there, and can
Yeah.
they guess this? Like
Yeah.
that's pretty cool the way you do that.
We
I
want
just
to do
think it's
something
awesome
different.
to put a number on races, because one thing is that the hard numbers that you can't really do anything about, like your running time and your cost. But then you throw in the personal experience, which we've seen from several people doing the same race the same year have very different scores because the personal experience was so different.
Yes.
Yes.
And I found that so interesting. I think for me, the interesting part is that, and then, the little tiny things like, where do you put your trail markers? And it is so bizarre how everyone has something different to say, but everyone has their own opinion.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, that's
Or
very cool the way you do
bathrooms.
that.
And one
Well-
person's favorite aid station might be another person's least favorite aid station.
Yes, and with your different topics, it sort of draws people to talk about what happened at the race. So that's important.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And that can make a decision if someone goes for that race. Like, talking
Yes.
to you today makes me want to come and go to Arizona and
Do the
to
300.
go. Yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
You would do amazing at that race. You'd be amazing.
Thank you.
I will look for you at Across the Years. That'll be
Yes.
Oh, we will look for you too.
for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
And please send me the tracking on the Divide 200.
Yeah.
That is also
Okay.
on my list. And I hear
I'll
a
do
lot
that.
of good. I hear both on that one. And maybe we'll have you back on and have you talk about that.
Oh,
would
I'd love
that.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
great. Yeah, super. Yeah, anytime, any place, I'll be there. Thanks, guys.
You
Appreciate
too,
it.
and
Good
have a
talking to
great
you.
evening.
Yep, you
You
too.
too.
Okay, bye-bye now.